Okay, I think you know the drill. This time I don't have any themed video. I try to do that to the best of my ability. I'll watch things and I'll put them aside and I'll try to sort of pair things together that make sense together, talking about maybe just horror for one video or maybe just Asian cinema for one video. And then when you do that, when you try to find categories like that, a lot of stuff they're gonna sort of fall behind, or I'm not gonna find the right place for them, or even just me procrastinating to such an extent that I do. So when I actually get around to filming videos, I don't have time to show everything that I've seen. So a lot of the stuff here is like the rest of it, the stuff that I haven't found the time or the place to show. So it's a lot of random stuff, quite a few titles, um, a lot of DVDs, but several Blu-rays. I suppose I can start with the Blu-rays. Um, I should mention that this year it's March 1st today, and I've bought maybe less than 10 titles this year. I've ordered maybe 10 things. I don't think it's that many. I'm awaiting 5 things, 6 actually. I supported a Kickstarter campaign, and then I have received maybe 2 that I've ordered this year. So yeah, I don't really have the I suppose the finances at the moment to buy a bunch of Blu-rays, but that's sort of a blessing in disguise because I have all these. I mean, if I just do this real quick, you can see a bunch of things, and there's many things behind that I typically, when I receive something, I put them here on my coffee table because I intend on watching them. I mean, that's why I buy them. And then there's obviously a bunch of things on the shelves that have been put aside over the years that I never saw. So I'm gonna try my best this year to get through most of what I have here, so that I don't feel so overwhelmed every time I every time I have to watch a movie. Every time I decide to watch a film, I sometimes it's hard to decide, and there's so many choices. So I want to try to get that down, get those piles down a bit, so that I can, when I receive a Blu-ray, I can focus on this Blu-ray without being stressed, if that makes any sense at all. So, that being said, I still have bought a lot of things over the years, and last year I did buy quite a lot actually. So there's not going to be a shortage of things to show, and I will buy things occasionally. Maybe after a while I'm gonna have to make videos a little bit differently. And I'm not sure that I can keep making updates this massive for too long, but I can keep doing it for a while. But maybe after that I can do some more themed videos, talk a little bit more in depth about some of the things that I buy. But that's for a later date, and I've been rambling for 3 minutes, so I'm gonna start by showing the Blu-rays that I have here. So this one maybe I've shown before. This is Bewitched. I hadn't seen it when I showed it, at least. So this is 88 Films Asia collection, number 12. I usually like these reverse artworks, but this is the standard one that the Blu-ray comes in. So I like these sort of Hong Kong. This is Shaw Brothers. I don't know if all of them have been, but the 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 Asian films that they put out that are more in the sort of horror genre, supernatural horror. So Seeding of a Ghost I've seen, and then Black Magic 1 and 2. This along with Seeding of a Ghost. I mean, I really like Black Magic 1 and 2 as well, but it's just special effects mayhem, and it's really fun. And yeah, so they put out a bunch of martial arts and stuff like that I'm not quite as interested in. I do have Hex also that I haven't seen yet, and I've had that for years, literally. So anyway, so I really enjoyed that, and then I do have one more horror title on Blu-ray. This one I've had for a while as well. I don't need to say that every time because I'm gonna be repeating myself a lot if I do that. Dracula, Prince of Darkness. I love these Blu-rays. The films are usually really good. I mean, I hadn't seen much of Hammer before Indicator put out those wonderful box sets. But now, when I have all those and I've seen them all, I'm starting to explore these Studio Canal Blu-rays. So this is the fourth one that I've seen, I think. I kind of prefer this over the first one that they made some years before this. This is a great Blu-ray too. It's got a commentary with Christopher Lee, Susan Farmer, Francis Matthews, and Barbara Shelley. I think this is quite an old commentary. I think it came on a laser disc, maybe late 80s, early 90s. I think Susan Farmer, she at one point mentioned that she hasn't worked in 9 years or something. So I went on to IMDb, and I think that if the math adds up, then it should be around like late 80s. So it's an old one, but they're all, you know, alert and quick-witted, so it's a really good commentary. I don't think I've listened to Christopher Lee on a commentary before, so I really liked that. And then they also have these Studio Canal, they produce these new featurettes or documentaries. They tend to be like in the half-hour range. This one is called Back to Black. So it features people like Jonathan Rigby, Mark Gatiss, and some of the actors too. Who at that point were considerably older than they were in the commentary. Anyway, great Blu-ray, fun movie. Here is a Blu-ray from Eureka. This is Guilty of Romance, a Sion Sono film. I actually didn't know that Eureka put this out, but this is one of those. This is one that I bought recently. This has been out of print for a while, so I was really happy to find this. Somebody sold it, you know, third-party seller, quite cheap. Well, it was affordable. I don't think I can get it cheaper than that. So I was happy to find this. Now I just gotta look for Tokyo Tribe, which is also out of print. But this one was good. Not my favorite, but I do think that there are some subtleties here and nuances that I maybe will present themselves on a second viewing. It's not one of my favorites from him, but I was really glad to get this and to watch it. I think this is there's a longer version of this as well, which I would have liked to have been included on here, but it's not. I don't know exactly when, if that was the I don't know much about the cuts, but this one is like half an hour shorter than this other cut that exists. So I would have liked to have that as well, but anyway, I at least have the film. I suppose my favorite part of it was the acting. The two main actresses, they were very good. Here is another one from Eureka, Daughter of the Nile, Hao Xiaoshen. This is a Taiwanese film. I don't think I've seen anything from him before. This was beautifully shot, kind of an austere, but also a very melancholy film. But you know, it's a film that deals with you know, crime and triads or gangster organization. Well, maybe not that, but like organized crime to some extent among the youth, and this main character sort of wanting to get away from this. It's not as sort of steeped in sadness as you might expect. I mean, it's pretty lighthearted some of the time. There's a lot of funny stuff here, and a lot of stuff you kind of just need to fill in the gaps. But this was a really unique film. I really enjoyed it. I mean, I liked it very much. Let's see. I have some more Blu-rays here. Here's another one from 88 Films. This is Zombie Flesh Eaters 3. So I guess I have shown this because I bought this along with the second one, and then for whatever reason the second one along with something else was shipped back to the warehouse, and then after that the price went up, and I didn't really have the money to get it again. So I've had this for a while, and then finally I was able to buy the second one, and I watched it, and now I watched this as well. I mean, I don't think it's that important what order you see these in. They have nothing to do with each other, but I still want to try to watch them in the order in the order that they came out. I have to say I prefer this one by a little bit over the second one. Obviously the first one is a better film, but this one really fun, really goofy. I mean, it's directed by the guy who made Troll 2, so I suppose that could tell you something, but it's not necessarily the same kind of film. But it is very goofy and very entertaining. Here's a film that is sealed, but I have seen it. It's a film called Loveless by, yeah, I'm not gonna make a fool of myself trying to say this name. He, I've seen this. I have the DVD that I found cheap, a Swedish DVD, and I really was blown away by this, and enough to want to upgrade. I haven't seen this again so far. I mean, I haven't seen the Blu-ray yet, but my DVD is also bare bones, and obviously this one isn't. So I'm glad to have this upgrade. So I thought the film was really quite devastating and beautifully made. So I would highly recommend watching it, and I will obviously check out the Blu-ray at some point. Well, I can show this Swedish film. Why not? This is called Amateurs. This Gabriella Pichler, was it? Yeah. She actually went to the same school that I did, although many years before. But she studied film in the same at the same university. She made a film called Eat, Sleep, Die. I'm not sure if that's the English title, but I saw that when that came out. Quite liked it, but I kind of liked this one better. And I grant it's been a while since I saw her previous film, but this one was really, really interesting and moving, and I don't know, it didn't seem to succumb to any cliches necessarily. It seemed to play itself out in a different way. I don't know, it was really quirky at times, very kind of open, exploring a lot of different aspects of small town life and doing it very beautifully. And some really funny scenes here too. And it feels like a film that is sort of relying to some extent on improvisation. And just some really clever setups too with the comedy. And yeah, I really enjoyed it, really did. There's a lot of scenes of people who seem to be not actors. It seems like, I mean, it focuses on the little person, if you will. And it sort of, there's a lot of people who are featured who they don't seem to be acting. It seems like they visited people at various workplaces and interviewed them as if they are part of the film, but it made it seem like they were just playing themselves. So I don't know, that didn't make much sense. There seems to have been a lot of people who weren't actors, who maybe were sort of playing a version of themselves, which gave the feeling a very kind of gave the film a very kind of documentary-like feeling. So I usually enjoy that in films. So I would recommend it. I really, I actually really liked it. And just because I said that I was going to start with the Blu-rays, here's another one. It's called Hampstead. I don't know. It was cute. It was entertaining. Diane Keaton, Brendan Gleeson. You know what this is. Looking at the cover, I don't need to tell you much about it beyond just showing this cover. But it was sweet. Not everyone's cup of tea, but occasionally I'll enjoy those kind of saccharine, romantic films. Yeah, I like the setting. It's kind of pastoral location. I'm looking for another Blu-ray. I don't think I have any actually. So for fans of DVDs, well, this is for you. But I know not everyone likes DVDs, but who cares? It's the films that count, surely. Here are two DVDs, two films that are sort of related. Jean de Florette and Mannen and the Spring. Is that the English title for this? This is a Swedish DVD, and this is Danish, I think. So these, I think these were shot back to back, and I'm not sure if they maybe were intended to be one film at one time. In early developments of this story, but it's divided up very clearly, and I suppose that's spoiling things if I say how it's divided up. But it's a great story about greed and about regret. I suppose this is greed and this is regret, if you want to simplify things. But the first one was just beautiful. The first one is, I mean, Gerard Depardieu, he's sort of arriving, he's very enthusiastic about this endeavor that he wants to do. I mean, he wants to build this empire, basically. I mean, he wants in the French countryside. He intends on building a farm, and I mean, he wants to build everything from scratch. Um, you know, raising animals and farming and whatever it is, and finding water. And so the film really shows this in a great way. So I love films that focus on the physical aspects of like a location and the building of this thing. Anyway, so I really enjoyed those two. The second one is a bit different in tone, but also good. I have, sorry about that. I have some films here with Isabelle Huppert. So these are from sort of three slightly different points in her career. So she's one of my favorite actresses, I would say. I also saw her in a film recently, Sandrine Bonnaire. Where did I see her? I can't believe I forget, because I really liked her in that other film. But I'm blanking on which one it was. Anyway, it's a film by Claude Chabrol. Really great one. I don't think I've seen any films from him before, but this one was great. I mean, I know that he had a long career at this point. This was maybe in the early 90s. But yeah, it's a good one. This one, however, not so good. Ma mère. I'm forced to pronounce a lot of French things in my videos, and I'm slightly uncomfortable with it. This is just kind of an angsty mess, and it ends on an absolutely exaggerated, ridiculous note. I don't know, maybe other people will like it, but it just seemed to be extreme for the sake of being extreme. I didn't like it at all. And then this one I've been wanting to see since it came out, and I've just been waiting for the DVD to drop in price. And I don't remember exactly what I paid for this, or where I think I ordered it from a third-party seller, but I don't know what I paid. But anyway, Souvenir, a striking cover with the pink and the red, I suppose. This, I mean, it's a film. She plays. This is only a few years ago. She plays like a French singer who, let's say 40 years earlier, she came in second to ABBA at the Eurovision Song Contest. And all these years later, she's sort of forgotten. But some people remember her, and it's time for a comeback. So that's what this is. And it's cheesy, but yeah, it's one of those films I really don't know. It's perfectly enjoyable, but it's trash, I guess. All right. Another one of my favorite actresses is Kristen Scott Thomas, and this one is called, well, you have the title here, Leaving, I think, in English. This one I really liked. I've been thinking about this a little bit. This, I would recommend this. It's not given particularly high ratings on various websites, but I really liked it. See, do I have any more French films? I suppose I can show those together. Here's one called Trouble Every Day, Claire Denis. I recently saw Beau Travail, there's the French again, and I absolutely adored it, and I would urge anyone to buy that Criterion. So obviously, and I've been aware of her for a while, but obviously after having seen a film like that I loved, I want to see more from her, because I think it's the first film that I saw from her. And this one I was interested in for many years earlier, not necessarily because she directed it, but it's part of this kind of new French extreme horror scene that came out sometime in the 2000s, with films like Martyrs and like In My Skin, Frontiers maybe. And this film sort of tends to be lumped together with some of those, although that's maybe not entirely fair. But there did seem to be a few films in the like mid-2000s maybe that were quite extreme and violent in nature. This is from 2001, but still, that approximate. Anyway, I don't know, I wasn't that crazy about this. I'm sort of on the fence. I really don't know. It seemed to do some things well, but there were a lot of different tones. I felt like there wasn't really a uniform feeling to the film, and I didn't kind of it threw. I got sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Well, it took me out of it at one point, and then I just kind of I didn't really like it. I didn't like the story very much. Unfortunately, let's see. I don't know that I have any more French films here, but here's a Canadian film in French language. Tom at the Farm, Xavier Dolan. Anyway, he stars in this, and I didn't know who he was. I knew his name. I have a film called Mommy that he made, but I didn't know exactly who he was. So I put this on, and I started to think. I wonder if that's the guy in the main role. I wonder if he plays the main role, because I sort of was vaguely familiar with him as this kind of supposed wonder child of cinema. He started very early making films that were successful and critically acclaimed to some extent, although I didn't know anything about that really. But it just seemed like he played the main character. It seemed he was so good in the role, so I just thought maybe because he made this so young, he really knew what his vision was. He knew how that he wanted this character to be played. He just thought, well, I'm doing everything else, so I'm gonna play the character too. I don't know. It was just a feeling I got that he played the main role, and indeed he did. And I thought that he was the best part of the film. His acting. I really like him in the film, but the story I'm not sure. And where it ends, I was confused by the ending, man. I don't know. I didn't really get it, but it was okay. Okay, not great. Okay, I'm ditching the attempt of talking about films from the same country. So here's another film called Salt and Fire. This is a Werner Herzog film, actually quite interesting, but it's kind of poorly executed. It's got some odd moments. If anybody else would have made this, it would have absolutely been one of those films that you could call like unintentionally funny. But because he makes it, and I know him so, I feel like I know him so well. I've at least seen his. I know his filmography so well, and I know that he's an eccentric and he does things his own way. And when things feel off, it's usually in a positive way. And I'm not sure that that was the case with this. There are some interesting ideas. I wasn't necessarily expecting the film to be about what it ended up being about. The second half was quite interesting, although it was a bit slow, and the first half was very unengaging, and the acting is not good because the dialogue is not good. So I don't know. It was not the best, but I'm happy to have seen it. I've had that for a while. I mean, there are certain directors where I definitely am a completist, and I would say that he is one of those filmmakers. Here's one called Fuck Everyone. Or at least that's the Swedish translation. And I don't know exactly how they translated entertainment into fuck everyone. I mean, sometimes it's hard to translate films because it might not sound the same or as striking or as good in another language, and so you kind of have to be creative. And creativity in translating English titles into Swedish is definitely not something that's been lacking in Sweden over the years. Like the Mel Brooks films, they were always titled the same thing, and Whoopi Goldberg films were always titled the same. I mean, they started with the same thing and then ended up with a different. I mean, they started similarly and ended differently. Makes no sense. Anyway, it was sort of to tell the audience that, oh, this is a film similar to one of those films you've enjoyed before. I suppose this has nothing to do with that, but it's an equally unfit title perhaps. Anyway, it just doesn't exactly feel like the kind of film it is based on the cover and the title. But this ended up being quite good actually. It's with Greg Turkington, who I didn't know who he was. But it's directed by, let's see, Rick Alverson, and he's been working with Tim, for fuck's sake, Tim Heidecker. I don't know, maybe Tim Heidecker, he was involved in this too. Yeah, written by Rick Alverson, Greg Turkington, and Tim Heidecker. So I knew about Tim Heidecker, Tim and Eric, great job, great Tim, whatever the show is called, and I knew about some of the other things that he had done, but I don't think I had seen anything. So watching this and then realizing, oh, this is a film from that universe, I sort of I watched a few other things in that sort of, from those people, from that group of people, I guess, from the mind of Tim Heidecker. So I saw his stand-up, or an evening with Tim Heidecker, which was actually quite funny. It's like a satire on stand-up. And then I saw, I've been watching some of On Cinema at the Cinema, which is with Tim Heidecker and Greg Turkington. It's like a web series. There are reviewing movies. So I've become a little bit more familiar with Greg Turkington and this character that he plays, and just the overall universe that the film exists in, I suppose. But watching it, I didn't necessarily know about any of that. But it's a really strange, surreal, absurdist comedy, a dark comedy, which is very slow at times and has a unique pace. And I can't help but comparing it to David Lynch to some extent, which I wasn't exactly expecting. But I really, I really liked it. And then here is a Danish film actually that I found some time ago, Kivitok. I recall what the significance of that means, but it sort of happens towards the ending, so I don't necessarily want to spoil it. But it's a Danish film, but it's shot on Greenland, which is a beautiful place. I haven't seen that in many films, but I have seen it in a couple, and it's a really striking environment up there. And this story was really quite interesting. I would recommend watching this if you can find it. This is a Danish DVD. I mean, it found its way across the borders into a second-hand store in my city. Not entirely unusual, but always fun when that happens. So I don't know if this is available in Denmark new anymore, but it's certainly not available in Sweden. So I was happy to find this. This does have, I mean, so it's a Danish DVD in Danish language, and maybe if I had the Danish subtitles on, maybe I could have understood it, but I don't necessarily speak or understand Danish that well, and so it is very helpful when these DVDs have English subtitles. But at the same time, you're listening to one language that, for me as a Swede, is very similar, so I understand a lot of it. But then I don't get all of it. Like, there are gaps. So then I have to use the English subtitles to fill those in. So I'm like taking in two languages at the same time. So, but I got used to that watching the show Clown, which is a Danish show. So I would watch that show with English subtitles. And in the beginning, it was really jarring. It really threw me off. But then eventually I got into it and I got used to it. So I feel like watching Clown has prepared me for other films like that. Anyway. So I really did enjoy that film. If you want to see a film with beautiful scenery, then I recommend it. I have a film from Jafar Panahi, Three Faces. I've talked about him a few times, and I typically talk about his story, because his story is very unique. But I don't really have the time now. He was banned from making films, essentially. And then he's been trying to get around that, I suppose. I don't know exactly what the state of that is now, but he's an Iranian filmmaker who was banned from making films, but he still has made films afterwards. I mean, his first film after that was called This Is Not a Film, which is very interesting. And then he made Taxi Tehran, and maybe something more in between, but I think maybe this is the one after that, Three Faces. Very subtle. I'm sure that there's a lot of significant references in this film that I don't understand, because I don't quite understand what they reference to. But a very interesting. There's some really fascinating shot, impressive shot. There's one shot where the camera is filming from this angle, and then the sun sets, and it's not a time lapse, and there's no cut. So I don't know how they did that. So that was really impressive. And then there's many other. It's a very sort of not lighthearted. It's a very well, in lack of a better word, it's a slow film. It plays itself out very slowly. I really liked it. And then here, I don't know if have I shown this? Kandahar, another Iranian film, Mohsen Makhmalbaf. I still wish that Arrow would put out more of his films. I don't know if the box set that they put out, the Poetic Trilogy, was all that successful in sales, and so that saddens me because I really want to see more from him, like the Cinematic Trilogy or whatever it's called. But this is at least one more that I can say that I've seen. I feel like you know what, I really am. I apologize if I've talked about this before. It's been a while since I saw it, but it's in the pile for a reason, I guess. So I'm gonna assume that I haven't spoken about it. But it's a film that it's shot. I don't know if it's shot in Afghanistan, but it takes place in Afghanistan. I could understand if maybe they didn't have a ton of time to film the scenes. So the acting is very stilted at times and not very good. But some of the themes are incredibly interesting. So there's a scene where they are. I mean, obviously, there are a lot of mines in Afghanistan, and people, they step on them, they get their legs blown off. There's a scene where there are people who have, crippled people or people with fewer limbs than four. They're sort of on their crickets. Is that the word? Crickets that they have to lean against so that they can. Is that the word? Some of them I think they maybe crawled, but it's this scene where these people, men, this group of men who have lost their limbs, so some of them, they are hurrying to get to this place where prosthetic legs are being dropped from the sky, from like a helicopter or an airplane perhaps. That's just one of the most striking scenes that I've seen in anything. So that scene, like if it's only for that scene, I would recommend watching it, because that was something else. Okay, I'm becoming a little bit stressed out because I'm not gonna be able to finish all of this. There's too many things. I'll do my best. This is gonna be a long one. We'll see. This one is called Silent Light. Carlos Regadas, where is he? Is he Brazilian? I can't say that I wish I knew. It doesn't. I'm not sure if it says on the back. This film is in. It's about the Mennonite community in northern Mexico. Maybe he's from Mexico. I should look this up. Yeah. So apologies. He is indeed a Mexican filmmaker. The spoken language in this is plain Dutch, plain Deutsch. Again, like, I don't know how to say that. But they're a Mennonite community, and I have to admit, I really had to look up what that is. And I can obviously not do it justice here. But it's a community of Germans who live in Mexico, and it's a very really slow cinema, very much improvised scenes. They definitely take their time, and it's an open film in the sense that, yeah, some scenes they simply just play themselves out in a way that feels very unusual. They just kind of go on. There's a lot of silence. The camera is moving very slowly in single takes some of the time, with no clear aim necessarily. And I liked it, but it was hard to engage. I mean, I really like some of those scenes. They're very beautiful to look at. It was hard to engage completely with the characters, because everything is so like low, like it's so, I don't know how to explain it. It's so, it's like the least intense drama that you could imagine. So it's, I don't know, it's an interesting film, and it's you know, another one of those films that I'm struggling to do justice with my feeble words. I do have one more from him called Our Time that I haven't seen yet, so I'm looking forward to watching that, because right now I've only seen one, and I feel like I should see maybe one more of his films to kind of get an idea of what his language is like, because this one was very tricky, but good. Here is an Icelandic film called, I think, Virgin Mountain is the English title, and I don't know, Fusi is the Icelandic title. I think that was the name of the guy, the main character here. Um, yeah, it's kind of predictable, but it's really lovely and well made. So I can sort of forgive that it's predictable, because the characters are they're so well portrayed, and the scenario that's playing out is it's very clear cut, or it's very well, it's easy to relate to or to sympathize with the character, but it doesn't necessarily do much that you wouldn't expect that it would do. So I would recommend it, but yeah, it's mainly a story about this guy, and he plays him. I think he might just be the best part of the film. The main actor, he plays him really well. This guy who kind of, I'm not sure if he's caught in some kind of arrested development. He does seem to be a little bit childlike. He lives with his mother. He's in his 40s. He doesn't have much of a social life. He has a friend, but he's very kind and generous, and so he's not completely childlike, because there's a sophistication in that too. So I don't know, but he was a very interesting character, I thought. So I would recommend watching it. I've been wanting to see that for a while too. It's another one of those, I guess, like with Souvenir, another one that I just wanted to wait for the price to go down a bit, and it just never fucking did. It was always like $15, and now it went down to like 7, so I thought that was okay. Here's a film that, honestly, I was at a secondhand store. I had 9 DVDs, and I had like a bill where I didn't want any change back, and if I bought 10, then I don't need to deal with change. So I just looked for another one to make it even, and this was the one that I quickly grabbed. But I pretty equally quickly I found myself that, hey, this actually looks quite interesting. Diary of a Teenage Girl. I really liked it. I liked it more than I was expecting to. So yeah, I'd recommend this. Another one, sort of I'm not sure how indie that is, but this next one is certainly an indie film. Touchy Feely, a film by Lynn Shelton. I'd previously seen a film called Outside In, which I saw on Netflix from her, and she's made quite a few films that I would like to watch. It's very sad because she passed away last year, very suddenly. I've heard Mark Maron talk about that, because he was dating her at the time, and so he has a podcast that I've been subscribing to for a number of years, and so it was quite devastating having to hear him talk about what happened to her, because he obviously was very fond of her. So it's hard not to consider those things when you watch a film from her. But this is a very quirky and beautiful and surprisingly good film that's very funny, and it is in this sort of mumblecore genre, this indie movement of the 2000s that I was never a fan of. It's not entirely like that, but there's some of that, and there's a lot of quirkiness which they tend to have, and then some quite absurdist things as well. And the facial recognition is going absolutely bonkers. Yeah, this. I don't know. I'd really I didn't expect to like it as much. Maybe I did expect to like. It doesn't matter what I was expecting. It's the first film of its kind that I've liked as much as I liked this one, I have to say. Oh, by the way, and maybe it's for the best that I didn't say it at the time, because I was gonna say, when I showed a film, called It was with Julianne Moore and Ellen Page. And I'm blanking on the title. Do I have it somewhere around here? Well, it was... I keep forgetting things. What's going on? Well, I was gonna say, when I showed that DVD, that another film with Ellen Page that I would recommend watching is... oh my god! It's on Netflix. It was called Tallulah, I think. So I was kicking myself after that. Oh, I forgot to mention that. I want to recommend that film. But of course now, since that happened, she came out as trans. So maybe it's better that I can now say that Elliot Page was in a film called Tallulah, and I would recommend watching that. That was all I was gonna say. So touchy-feely, great film, good film, Tallulah. Another really good film that I would recommend. Okay, I'm sort of running out of steam. Neighboring Sounds. This is a film from the director who made Aquarius, which I have. Arrow Academy released that a few years ago, and I enjoyed it. I thought that was a good film, and this another good film. It opens up really in a really beautiful way, sort of attempting to pay homage to a neighborhood, you know, and the chemistry of this neighborhood and the people living in close vicinity to each other. And the rest of the film explores that too. But it focuses on just a few people. I was maybe expecting it to jump around more in a kind of hyperlink way, I understand it's called. When films, one character leads into another character's story, and then it goes over here and maybe comes back to this character. It's not really like that. It's more like a set amount. It's sort of, I suppose maybe it is a little bit like that, but it revolves around mostly the same people. And yeah, I think maybe I liked Aquarius a bit more, but this one was still a very good one. Here's one called Manglehorn with Al Pacino, directed by David Gordon Green. Holly Hunter is in this. Harmony Korine is in this. For fans of Pacino and for sort of light-hearted or pretty mild or simple dramas without too much suspense or whatever, this one I would really recommend. It's not great, and you know, I mean, the stylistically it leaves a lot to be desired, but it's a sweet story. I mean, if you like these quiet dramas, if you think you would like to see Al Pacino playing an elderly locksmith whose cat is sick and he has to take the cat to the veterinarian, and he's interested in this woman working at a bank or whatever it was, and it's just, you know, his simple life, then I think you would like this. I think he's made quite a few, done quite a few interesting roles in the past few years. A lot of them, they haven't been getting a ton of recognition, but he's played some interesting characters. I mean, he played Jack Kevorkian in that HBO film a number of years ago, and I think he played Phil. The guy who died recently, the Motown guy, or was he? Maybe he was not a Motown composer. I forget his name too. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, so he's played a few interesting characters in the past few years, and I thought this one was another one that I would. I thought this was good. I think that's it. I have a few more things here, but they're not necessarily things that I have a ton of things to say about. So I think I'm gonna... Well, you know what? I have a couple more that I can show, and then I'm done. Here's one called Primal, which is one of these recent Nicolas Cage films that I wasn't expecting to be good, but for whatever reason this one stood out to me as something that maybe I could enjoy. So, I mean, I bought this cheap. I didn't like it. Obviously I didn't like it, so I don't know what I was trying to get myself into. Here's another one that I didn't like. Clip. So let's see, was this a Serbian film? Yeah. And almost equally graphic as a Serbian film, by the way. Yeah, it's trying to shine light on, maybe not the dissolution, what's the word? The sort of the confusion or the, do you know what word I'm looking for? The disenfranchisement, no, oh fuck, well, of the young people of Serbia, and it's incredibly sexually explicit to the point where it's just, you're watching the most sexually explicit scenes imaginable, and you're like, another one of these. God, you just get sick of it, and you try to. I mean, you understand what she was trying to do, paint the portrait of these young people who were sort of on the wrong path, but it's so intense, and it doesn't let out, or it doesn't, there's nothing that can act as a counterpoint to this. It's just all the way down to